It would have been such a mistake not to do it that I thought the risks were worth it to do it.
It was unbelievable how much this campaign got picked up.
I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to have a campaign as successful as this one.
In the history of Age UK, it was the biggest day of donations ever. That's when you know you've done something really good.
When we first started talking about loneliness with older people, that was something that was just never really spoken about. And it was kind of shameful in a way that you would feel lonely or that you would admit being lonely. Chronic loneliness is as bad for you as drinking, a bottle of vodka a day or smoking, 15, 20 cigarettes a day. I mean, that it actually does have a physical manifestation on you.
So MGMD and AGK have been working together a long, long time now, but I think it really came into its own in 2015 when we did the joint campaign with John Lewis, Man on the Moon.
So what do you say? You can't give me the dreams that are mine anyway.
And that really put AGK on the map. It got loneliness out there, it got people talking, it got Parliament talking, and really made people aware of AGK and what they do.
It's hard to believe that 1 million older people can go a month without speaking to anybody. It doesn't have to be this way.
So it was about getting AGK back on the radar. It was about making people, again, aware of loneliness and aware of how big this issue was. So that was very much our tail strand of telling people what AGK do, telling them there's an issue and telling them that loneliness is a really, really big problem. Then with our show strand, it was about how we take that idea and we show the complexity of it. We show that loneliness cannot be solved by you having a cup of tea with your neighbour or picking up the phone. You need an expert like AGK to solve this problem because it is so complex and so severe and affects so many of us.
Okay everyone, that's a wrap, let's go home.
Currently, with our approach at the moment, we very much concentrate on November and December being the time that we talk about AGK from a brand position. We worked with Drum to create Just Another Day.
And that was basically the story of an older man who just was lonely. He didn't have anyone.
You can leave a message for me. Please leave a message, and I'll get back to you. Thank you.
He goes day in, day out, not talking to anyone, living alone. And so we wanted to bring this to life through media. For example, on TV, it was taking the TVC and putting it in those well-known programmes that everyone tunes into every December, such as The Royal Variety Show or those classic Christmas movies like Home Alone, those real family moments that everyone tunes in and talks about. And we were there to really play on that juxtaposition of the fact that not everyone has got someone to watch this programme with. So it was about getting AGK back on the radar. It was about making people, again, aware of loneliness and aware of how big this issue was. So that was very much our tail strand of telling people what AGK do, telling them there's an issue and telling them that loneliness is a really, really big problem. In order to show people, we knew we wanted to go down this documentary style route. We knew we wanted to try and start telling some very, very true stories, some very upsetting and quite emotional stories, but we hadn't found the right people yet to tell that story or the right platform. So we spoke to a number of media owners, Channel 4 being one of them.
We'd never worked on, making a programme together. It'd always been an advert. So we went in with that expectation. We took the brief, we tried to think of ideas, ways that we could answer that brief, but always in the sort of ad space. And it just occurred to me that this was possibly an opportunity that I should voice, but I didn't really think that they would be interested in. So I just mentioned the fact that CPL, who are the producer of the programme, had pitched an idea to Channel 4 to make a Christmas special of as the hit show, Old People's Home for 4-year-olds.
6 months ago, an experiment in Bristol, the first of its kind in the UK, brought together 2 generations for 6 weeks.
Old People's Home for 4-year-olds was originally an experiment that was done to see just what loneliness can do to people and then how that can be reversed.
Once we started speaking to CPL, the production team, they kind of told us that they would have loved to bring it back Christmas, and they've already got this script and storyline in place.
And at the time, we didn't have the funding in place to make that show. It was a very quick turnaround. We didn't have the money.
And then we kind of just sat down with Channel 4 and said, if we commissioned this programme, is that possible? Is that doable? And they said yes. And as soon as they said yes, we just all looked at each other in the room. We said, it's the right thing to do, and we need to go and tell Kathy, we need to tell AGK, and we need to convince them it's the absolute right thing to do.
We needed to get buy-in from the client, as in, we have got this money, we want to do this with you, probably within 7 days.
I got the call from MGOMD saying, we've got this fantastic opportunity for Channel 4, this is what it's going to be, we'll send you some details, we're setting up a meeting. And I'm like, okay, thinking, in a couple of weeks, and they're going, tomorrow, and I'm like, okay. And then going into that room, and there's everybody looking at you and saying, well, and, you say yes.
And it was a really amazing moment, because that's exactly what you want to hear. You want them to understand the ethos of the show completely matches and explains and demonstrates what it is they're trying to say about their brand.
This was a platform in which we could talk about loneliness in a much deeper way and actually show the difference of what it makes to people.
It was probably the shortest deadline I've ever worked to in my God knows how many years of working in this industry.
4 weeks later, I think it was on the air. So, it was a massively quick turnaround.
Hello, Millie.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Great.
Are you great? Are you in house school? Is that even greater? Is it?
It's even greater than nursery.
Is it really?
We wanted to have contextual spots within the programme just to really reinforce the partnership between the programme and AGK and make that absolutely crystal clear to the viewer. So we got actual people who work within the show to do 20-second spots and reference what the viewer would have just seen in that part.
These characters were already really quite well loved because of the previous show. So coming directly from them and having their support, I think really, really helped.
We're working with AGK to help fight loneliness.
It's a frightening thing, really, more than anything else, when you suddenly, when you get older, realise that, like, if your brothers and sisters have died, or your cousins have died, or your husband's died or something, there's only you.
Thankfully, Channel 4 had seen how much of a success it was in the summer, and so were convinced that they wanted to put a lot of airtime behind it. So I think we've got about 90 TVRs supporting and driving people to tune in at 9 p.m.
You've really picked my drive.
I love Christmas so much.
At the Old People's Home for 4-year-olds at Christmas. Monday at 9 on Channel 4.
Our commitment is to giving that brand all of the sort of co-branded pieces of content that they can use for a 360 marketing campaign, if you like.
And CPO are fantastic in making some additional content for us as well, such as AGK Bristol and the work they do there.
To spread the word about their forthcoming carol concert, this afternoon Hamish and Michael are visiting a telephone befriending scheme for older people, run by Age UK Bristol from a local community centre.
We had 2 brands that were already sort of on the same journey. We brought them together. What we did is manage to transfer all the loveliness and the warmth from Old People's Home for 4-year-olds onto Age UK.
Since they both took part in the experiment, 90-year-old David and 5-year-old Eva have become firm friends.
And my stick? And you, yes. What more could a chap ask for?
I don't know.
No, I don't suppose you do. Lovely. I'd like to shut the door, Eva, please. Good.
We anticipated that conversation would take place on social. Didn't expect as much conversation as it was, which was awesome. But yes, we used that to our advantage in that anyone who used the hashtag either AGK or People Home for 4-year-olds at Christmas, we would then retarget them with additional AGK content in order to try and drive donations and get them to engage further with AGK.
We thought that it would do well. We didn't realise it was going to do as well as it did.
I can remember this as...
I thought it quite remarkable. And children want to be active, and where they could throw snowballs at one another, I think is pleasing to see them full of life and vigour.
I was at home, I went back to my parents and made them watch it. Louis from One Direction tweeting, which was amazing, and John Barrowman crying about 15 times on Twitter with various videos as well.
Channel 4, I hate you right now, but in a good way. These stories are just too much. But if you're watching this, you'll know what I mean. Hashtag what I've hashtagged below and support all the charities for pensioners. Merry Christmas.
It went nuts on social media and things like that.
I think when I realised it was a hit was that when somebody during TX texts me to say they can't get on the website. And I thought, oh, that's a bit strange. And then the next day I found out it's because we crashed the website.
I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to have a campaign as successful as this one. I mean, just from the amount of engagement that we had on social, the amount of engagement that, we were getting feedback in, at the office for.
Instantly, we saw how many people were going to the AGK website to donate, to volunteer. The amount of people were talking about it on socials. We had about 15,000 social mentions, which was over 200% more than what we'd had last year. And it was 100% positive sentiment, which is absolutely unheard of.
So regular donations went up 52%. One-off donations went up 32%. And everybody was talking about us. And most importantly, it was really getting our messages out in a way that people really engaged in and really started talking about.
Over 80% more people volunteered than they had the year before. We had over 50% more donations than we had the year before. And I believe it was one of Channel 4's top programs. I think it was the 8th biggest program in December as well. So it was amazing the impact that it did have basically instantly on that night.
So many people had already seen our advert and it just followed right on. It was just such a successful time. And we can still feel that now, even coming up to our new Christmas campaign.
This is the best day I've ever had. I absolutely love this.
I think this week has brought it all back, all the memories from the previous experience we had. Lovely being with the children, that's by far the best thing.
This is a show that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Age UK, fully funded by a brand, and yet not just performed above its average slot, but really smashed the slot.
I think what the campaign has allowed Age UK to do is to talk a little bit bolder about the things that we do.
To talk to the UK for about an hour to show how upsetting and how hard loneliness can be. I don't think Age UK have ever had the opportunity before to talk about loneliness in that much detail and at that length with that big of an audience.
I mean, if you're looking at reach, you're not really going to get much better than TV, to be honest.
The power of TV, I don't care how cheesy it sounds, but those results, you can't deny that in 1 hour of TV, we sort of made a historical day for Age UK. And, that absolutely cannot be denied. It is a really powerful medium.
The world's gotten a lot harder lately and have more of an edge. And I think people were just kind of tired of that, actually. And so they saw what we were doing and it really hit an emotion, a positive emotion in them of compassion. And then I think that just made it grow.